Now that you have made your updates to your app config file, please open your Solution Explorer, find program.cs, CS stands for C#, and you will find your class program. Right here, yours says public. Public gives you access to this variable, resource dir, throughout the application. In order to demonstrate the difference between public and private, I'm going to do something. Go right up here and at the beginning of your program, and you'll see public, static, we'll talk about that later, string. String is what it's going to, the data type of the variable. The variable name is resource directory. I'm telling the computer to make a string type in memory, call it resource dir, and I'm going to store inside of that variable name a string. It is going to be accessible throughout the application. When I hit F5, my application runs. For those of you who do not have or did not see that, I would like you to you can click F5 or you can press the green button at top. All right. Now then, I'm going to change the scope of this variable to private and show you that we can no longer access it, and then I will get build errors. I will say, push the green button, start debugging. Oh, and there are errors, and I will say no. We will look here, and it says that Windows Form Application Program, that's the name of our class, variable resource dir, is inaccessible due to its protection. This means it's private. It can only be accessed inside of code running inside this class. But we want our resource directory to be available throughout our application, so I'm going to call it public. This public and private is known as scope. The key words, public and private, govern scope. We'll talk more about scope, but that is an important piece of information to know. As I said, all .NET applications have an entry point of main. A Windows Form application is no different. Here we have main, but this time we have a reference to our application, and we have application run, which has one method and one argument. The argument here is the name of the form. If you will look at your Solution Explorer, instead of form main.cs, you will see form 1. We will rename this in our next class for some clarification purposes, but for right now, I want you to just know that form main and form 1 throughout the rest of the demonstration are the same. Now then, application run tells it to show this form, create this form, and then show it. What I would like you to do now is put a breakpoint on application run. Go to debug, toggle breakpoint. If you do not see your entire line highlighted, you can change that by going to Tools, Options, Debugging, and there's a checkbox that says Highlight Entire Source Code. Notice checkboxes allow you to have more than one option selected. All right. Now then, now that your line is highlighted, as you like it or you don't, please stop and click. Oh, and now it's gone. Click it again, and then press F9, and it is highlighted, and the application will stop at this line of code before it executes. This will allow you to examine a few things. Now then, I would like you to go up to our previously defined variable, resource dir, which is public and available, and note that it is set equal to a function. A function returns a value. Let's go to our function name. You can find this function in a number of ways. You can double-click the function name, right-click and go to definition, and then you see it. Another way is within your program class. You can right-click and you will see all of the functions and variables available. In this case, we're going to go to Read App Settings. Read App Settings is something that I wrote to isolate and to isolate the reading of our app config file and to demonstrate the difference right off the bat between a method, which does not return anything, and a function, which does return something. Notice that this function has the keyword scope of public, which means I can ask throughout the application to go read my app config file and get some settings. And it calls System Configuration Manager, a built-in function that returns a string. That string is going to include all of this information. Now then, we're going to put a breakpoint here at application, and we're also going to put resource dir is equal to, and in this case I'm going to say not defined, and a semicolon, all commands in C# end in a semicolon, and I am going to hit F9 on there. Actually, I want to hit F9 on the second thing. And I'm going to press the Start button, or F5. And notice resource dir right here is, here we go, not defined. Text Visualizer will show me exactly what it looks like and wrap the text. Some other things I can do with my resource dir is right-click and add watch. Now in my watch window, I can always see what's happening. I know what value is in it and what string type. The next thing you're going to do is we're going to step through. Notice when we come in, this variable says not defined when it reaches this line of code. Now we're going to step in by hitting F11, and we're going to step into our code. Read app settings. It's going to call that, return the value, and move on. Now you can see the value of our resource directory has changed. Next, we're going to run the new form, Windows Form main. I don't want you to continue on from this point, but rather stop debugging by stop debugging with Shift F5. At this point, I'd like you to pause the video and be able to answer the following